data?
At this point, it's really just a forum and a training initiative, and what initiatives you want us to take on. I think in terms of some of the training as it pertains to the account relationships and the control regimes, there seemed to be, actually coming out of the forum, a lot of questions and a lot of interest for us to maybe pursue more training in the AML framework, and that was something that we're going to go back and think about, and also in the cyberspace. And so those are areas where it would make sense, we thought, to work with our AACB partners. But obviously, getting feedback from all of you and others will help inform that decisions going forward.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we'd like to invite the European Central Bank.
Good afternoon. I've got a presentation, but I can also speak without it. So first, thank you, Governor Juan Mongba, for your hospitality here in Kigali. Thank you, Governor Tarek Amer, as the chair of the AACB. Thank you, Mr. Papadiop, as Executive Secretary of the AACB. The main message I would like to pass in this presentation is to praise the very good level and spirit of cooperation that we have with the AACB. Africa is, of course, a continent that we cannot ignore in Europe, and the ECB has decided over the years to increase its involvement in technical cooperation with your continent. So we are very happy to do that, and the way the cooperation is going on with the AACB is really something that we cherish very much. AACB is for us a multiplier, an efficient multiplier for your vast continent and your high number of countries. So all in all, we are very happy with this cooperation. So if I go back in history, I would say, so we have 4 areas of technical cooperation. The first one is payment system integration based on the ECB experience. In that respect, we participated in a workshop on retail payment in, I think it was in Cairo, if I'm not mistaken, last April, and we presented our European System of Retail Payments, SEPA, and I think the presentation was well received. We have also expertise in large value payment system. We have also expertise in a system where we can settle a security settlement system into central bank money. So for all these kind of activities, we are very happy to pursue cooperation and share our experience if you wish. The second aspect is convergence, which of course is very important in view of the monetary union integration project that you have in mind. As you know, the ECB and the Commission have to issue convergence reports at least every 2 years when a country wants to join the euro area. So we assess the degree of convergence of these countries in order to join the euro area. So we have a large experience in that respect. And here again, we intend to have an activity with the AACB between now and the end of the year. We would have a workshop on convergence before the end of the year. The third aspect, very important for the central bank community, is stress test. The ECB does a different kind of stress test, but participated mainly in a big stress test at European level taking place every 2 years. So we are very much involved in this stress test. Of course, very helpful to assess the resilience of the bank, the capital requirements of the banks. It's helpful for Pillar 2 activities also. It's also helpful in our macroprudential function. And we have agreed with the AACB Secretariat that next year we would have hands-on stress testing activities. Finally, in terms of research, which was the 4th priority identified for this year and next year, let's say, modeling, and we have developed at the ECB a Bayesian estimation, analysis and regression toolbox, which is an easy way, let's say, to do modeling, especially when you lack data. And in some of the countries in the African continent, you lack a sufficient number of data. So these kind of tools can be very useful. We have presented them all around the world, in the US, everywhere, and this tool was quite praised. So again, next year, I think next spring, if I'm not mistaken, we would have a workshop or roundtable with the AACB and the central banks. And apart from that, we will continue to participate in all regular activities where it is annual assembly, symposium, continental seminar, and the meeting of the central bank supervisors. So to conclude, our partnership with the AACB is a very effective way to cooperate with the central banks in Africa, so we very much praise this, this activity. This cooperation is very active due to the energy displayed on both sides, and we have clear priorities, which is good because we have resource constraint at the ECB. We are a big central bank, but the resource we dedicate to technical cooperation are limited, to my regret, but this is the way it is. And this point of contact, this central point of contact between us and the Secretariat are very useful, and it's a new way for me to again thank Mr. Papadiop for his dynamism and his friendship developed over the recent year. Thank you very much.
Any questions? Well, thank you very much, Mr. Noble, for all this support and cooperation. Well, the ECB and the Federal Reserve have been really very strong partners for us and very invaluable, and we look forward to continue to work together with you and with the Federal Reserve, the most two prominent central banks in the world. And it's our privilege. Thank you.
I will invite lastly the African Peer Review Mechanism.
Thank you, Chair, for the opportunity, and the Vice Chairperson, the Executive Secretary, esteemed governors, and all the distinguished guests. We thank you for the privilege to present to you the initiative of the African Union that the African Peer Review Mechanism has been working on together with the African Union Commission. We've got a presentation that I would appreciate if it is projected before I continue. Thank you. So this initiative that the APRIM is embarking on, it's in support of our member states of the African Union in the area or in the field of credit rating agencies. So our participation in this meeting is that we seek to brief you on the Assembly decision that has been adopted by the AU Assembly to support member states in international credit rating agencies. But basically, because it relates to the theme of this meeting, in relation to monetary policy and financial stability, and also to solicit your guidance going forward on the document that we have circulated, the draft policy framework in this regard. So just to lay the background of this initiative, it is a mandate that has been discussed and proposed in different platforms, but it was formally adopted as an Assembly decision in January 2017, instructing or directing the APRIM to offer support to member states in that regard. So to lay the background of the rationale behind the decision, so I'll just present to you some statistics behind this initiative. So on the screen there is the current dynamics or the current situation in the credit rating in the whole of the continent. So for the total of 32 rated African countries, we only have 4 countries that have got an investment grade, and only Botswana being still in the A class rating or status, and 2 of them being Morocco and Mauritius, and the 4th one being South Africa, which has already lost its investment grade with 2 rating agencies. So the bulk of it, if you can see, it's in the B class, which is defined technically as a substantially high risk countries to invest in. And that is colloquially referred to as junk status. And Mozambique is already in default there. And if you look at that graph, it presents the economic growth over the time when South Africa was rated, the first African country to be rated in 1994 and up to now. So you can see that the economic growth has been significantly positive, above 3.6%. But over these years, that has not been reflecting in the credit rating that the African countries have been receiving. So still, most of them are still lying in the junk status category. So here, just to take a snapshot through those 4 countries that are the highest performers in terms of economic growth in Africa over a stretch of about 10 years. You can see that with a growth rate of almost over 6% in a stretch of 10 years, the rating activity has not changed. It's still in the junk status. And also here you can see that looking at the statistics of the number of upgrades and the number of downgrades, the number of downgrades have been more pronounced than upgrades. And also the negative outlooks, which is giving a direction of the impending rating action before it happens, they have been more by far compared to the positives. This is statistics of total rating activities in Africa countries up to December 2018. So you can see that as we come to 2018, the gap between the upgrades and the downgrades have been more pronounced and has been widening. So the argument has been that if the African countries and the bonds they issue have been classified as substantially risky, why is investors still so much interested in them? Because if you look at the bond issuing statistics, you can see that almost all of the sovereign bonds issued, they are oversubscribed. So this is just a few of the countries that have issued bonds, sovereign bonds in the recent future. You can see them oversubscribed 3 times, and for Ghana it's even more than 7 times. And here we have just put a cutout from different newspapers of countries that have issued statements and showing their displeasure with the contact of rating agencies on in their situations on the continent. And the main issue there is the lack of proper consultation or inadequate consultation as far as some risky factors in certain areas are concerned. And adding on to the globally known weaknesses and criticism that have been leveled against rating agencies, specifically their involvement in the crisis in 2008. There have been a challenge on the methodological biases and deficiencies as far as African countries are rated, because the economic growth in African countries is somehow been dismissed as fragile growth. But still argue that if the growth is fragile and economic growth is a product of different factors that is pulled together to bring up positive growth, then there must be some merits that is worth considering. And to some extent, there have been a feel of aggressiveness against African countries to some extent, because looking at the statistics of other countries that are in other continents that are going through a conspicuous crisis, they are still maintaining better ratings far beyond that are allocated or assigned to African countries. And this has had a direct bearing on the fiscal policies and the fiscal dimension of the country's fiscus. Because when a rating or a country has a poor rating, it has a direct implication on the cost component of servicing debt. So here, allow me the courtesy of using a case of South Africa, which is the country in Africa which has the highest number of rating activities, and was also the first country to receive a rating on the continent. This is just the bond, sovereign bond dynamic for different bonds, the 3 months, 10-year, and 30-year, when South Africa was downgraded into junk status in 2017 by the two rating agencies, S&P and Fitch. You can see that in a total of 12 days, the bond had increased in cost with those percentages there in each of its tenures. And also looking at the trend over the time, you can see that when the ratings in the bars were increasing, the interest rate was also decreasing. So this proves that the dynamics in the ratings have got a direct implication in the sovereign bond servicing cost. So here is the key areas that APRIM has been looking at to offer support as far as credit ratings are concerned. Especially the issue of preparing countries for ratings, because in some cases countries are not well prepared to engage rating agencies, or sometimes they lack the capacity to do so. And also helping to determine the impact of the credit rating when it changes. And a number of countries in Africa also doesn't have a proper regulatory system to regulate the operations of agencies in their jurisdiction. And during the rating exercise or post-rating, they issue their rating reports, which has got some recommendations that need some alignment into the national policy. So this is part of the document that we have circulated, the draft policy framework. So I'll just brush through some of the key sections that we have in the framework. So the background here just highlight the mandate, the legitimacy of the mandate that we have from the Assembly, and also the purpose of the framework, which is to provide strategic and operational support to member states in the pre-rating preparatory phase, managing the rating exercise and the implementation of post-rating recommendations is aimed towards promoting the continental policy convergence. And these are the objectives, but key amongst those is to equip and capacitate the liaison team that engages directly with the rating agencies when it's undertaking the assessment exercise, and also to give government support into the implementation of recommendations. And here is the operational and oversight mechanisms that we are proposing in the framework, but these mechanisms will be implemented through the existing institutional framework of the APRI. So it's a matter of extending the magnitude of the current exercises to include the support on member states in the area of rating agencies. And already the APRIM has constituted an ad hoc committee specifically for this, which is constitute different experts from the continent, And I have the pleasure to announce to you that, or to inform you that we've got a number of central banks that we have engaged in this process, who are part of the ad hoc committee. And resources, we've got the budget allocation that has been approved already by the Assembly, which is the program budget specifically to implement this decision. So the role that we envisage that AACB will play in implementing this decision is to provide support in the development of a modern continental regulatory framework. And also we envisage that we will be producing an annual report which outlines in summary and review the operation and performance of regulatory agencies.
Can I intervene for a second? Yeah. You are acting as rating agency, rating advisory for clients or for central banks, etc., right? This is what you're proposing, rating advisory services?
It's part of the function we are proposing.
Rating advisory service. And you've sent to all central banks directly, right?
To some of them, not...
Some of them, okay. So can you give us just your conclusion, because here we are behind time, and of course, since the central banks have received your proposals, this will be reviewed by the required relevant divisions in our central banks. So if you can give us what's your conclusion in terms of this presentation, because we don't have except a few minutes left.
Our conclusion was that we just seek your advice and guidance if there is any need for some considerations going forward is part of our consultation in coming up with or enriching and enhancing the policy framework that we are putting together.
Right. And you have a track record before on this matter?
Yes, yes.
With which countries?
We intend to, or let me show you this is the milestones of what we have already embarked on, and we intend to embark on a consultation in a number of countries that
you intend?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks. We will review the documents when we go back home, and it will be to each central bank to see what they want to do, right? Because this does not need a collective decision, you see. Correct?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. So we would like to invite respectfully Honorable Governor of the Central Bank of the Gambia for the vote of thanks. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Chairperson of the Association of African Central Banks, Honorable Vice Chairperson of AACB, Honorable Commissioner of Economic Affairs of AU, Governors of Central Banks of Africa, ladies and gentlemen. We come to the close of this very important meeting, and I am greatly honored on behalf of fellow governors and participants to extend our sincere appreciation to the government and people of Rwanda, particularly to His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Rwanda, His Excellency Paul Kagame, for the warm welcome and generous hospitality extended to all the delegates since our arrival to this beautiful city of Kigali. I would express my deepest appreciation to His Excellency President Paul Kagame and also to the Prime Minister of the Republic of Rwanda for opening our symposium yesterday. This reflects your strong commitment to regional integration in Africa. To Honorable Governor, Central Bank of Rwanda, we would say thank you. We appreciate all the efforts you made, all the facilities made available to us, the arrangements made that makes this meeting a very successful meeting. We say thank you to you and your entire staff, and also all the other support staff that were running around, making our stay a comfortable one. And to all the participants, delegates, we say thank you for coming to this beautiful city of Kigali and participating strongly to this important meeting. Your contributions have enriched our discussions, and this has gone a long way in consolidating our efforts in ensuring monetary integration in Africa. And also to the Secretariat, Papa Job and the team, we say very big thank you for the good work you are doing. Papa, I will say in word of Jerejev. And finally, I wish everyone safe trip back home, and thank you.
Okay, thank you. Honorable Governors, Commissioner AU, all protocols observed. Honorable Governors, I'm delighted and honored to be nominated as the Chairman of the African Association of Central Banks for the following year. I humbly and greatly accept your nomination, and I would like to thank you for your trust. I would like to thank and congratulate you, Mr. Tarek, Governor of Egypt, and outgoing Chairman, for the outstanding work done during your tenure. On behalf of the governors and the members of the association, I wish to state that we witnessed your hard work and commitment in making the AACB stand high. I thank you for the promise you've given to me to always support me and my colleagues during the course of the year as we take on this important job. I also want to thank the African Union Commission for their continued collaboration and support to the work of AACB. Thank you, Commissioner Victor, for the assurances you've given to me already that will continue to work in close collaboration. Fellow governors, with your collaboration, I pledge to continue supporting the AACB towards achieving our goals and implementing the recommendations made. And I therefore humbly ask you for collaboration as we closely work to reach our objectives. Lastly, allow me to express my deepest appreciation to all the hard work that was put in making the 19th Symposium and the 42nd Annual Meetings a success. Specifically, I want to thank the AACB Secretariat, the National Organizing Committee, the Technical Committee, the Logistics and Protocol teams, interpreters and translators, and the management and staff of Kigali Convention Center. I applaud you all for your efforts. Dear colleagues, I hope you enjoyed your stay in Kigali, and just in case any of you faced any inconveniences in one way or another, I want to express our regrets. Let me end by wishing you all safe travels back to your capitals, and I thank you for your kind attention. Governors, I've been requested by the Executive Director of the African Economic Research Consortium to remind you of his invitation for a working dinner tonight at the Kigali Marriott Hotel. So the dinner is supposed to start at 7:30, so he requested me to remind you of the invitation. Thank you.
Congratulations again, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairperson, and best of luck, and I would like to give you the handover.
Yeah, so we'll have lunch for the governors. It will be at the Fellini restaurant, and for the delegates at the Lauder restaurant. The protocol will help us go to those two places. Thank you. We're inviting the governors to go on the right side, and the other delegates on the right.